Sometimes, you know what? People will Google tax deductions and some US website comes up. So
Oh,
then they just follow that. And like,
yeah, that's
for example,
completely wrong.
capital gains are so much different in the States than they are here. Huge.
Okay.
Right? We can't just like sell a property and buy another one and have the capital gain get written off. I know that's not exactly how it
Yeah.
works in the States, but we don't have anything remotely close to that. So people, they'll Google capital gains taxes and then they'll look at the first link and then not realize it's a US website. So that's pretty
Exactly.
scary too, right? People do their own research, but they won't look at the right websites and
Mhm.
they get in trouble. So.
Hey guys, welcome to CPA Primetime. Today we have Dominique Chenard out of Thunder Bay, Ontario. She has her own practice. She's a CPA. She focuses on financial planning, financial advising, even she has something going on in the retirement space too. We'll talk about more about that. But, I say retirement and everyone, all the young people leave, right? No. She helps younger entrepreneurs as well. Definitely provides a lot of resources for that. And before we get into introduction, I actually want to ask her a question, or let her go ahead and let's all pick her brain, because I thought this was awesome. This weekend, I actually put out a story post on my Instagram asking all the accountants that I'm seeing looking at my stuff. Some of them, fine, they have their own podcasts, their own shows, but a lot of them don't have much, and I see them always looking at my story. So I asked, hey, when are you guys going to start anything? Are you guys ever going to start a podcast or a video vlog show, a regularly scheduled piece of media, right? To go ahead and get your message out there. And you're one of the ones that put down a very easy thing to do. And you're just like, yeah, sure. I do 1 minute financial Fridays. And that completely wipes out the excuse of I don't have time to create a piece of media, right? So go ahead. How did you come up with that 1 minute Fridays? And, how long is it taking you to make those?
Yeah, so I came up with that maybe a month or two ago, and I was looking to do something regular because I found a lot of accounts that I follow that I find interesting. They have this regular thing, every day at 9 a.m. they'll do a live, or every Tuesday, they'll do something, and you just kind of come to expect it. So I thought maybe I'll do something like that. But again, you get worried and like how much time is it going to take and whatnot. So the first few, I probably did a couple of rehearsals. I made them a little more formal. And I realized, what, and I learned a little more about Instagram, is people like you to just say something on the fly. They want you to just talk, say what's on your mind. If you know the topic, you shouldn't have to prepare for hours and hours on end. So, I would do them a little more, I think the day before was going to be my topic. If I got time the day before, I'll film it then. And if I don't, then Friday morning, I whip up my camera and my selfie stick and go at it. And, I might glue two pieces together depending on how well it went. And I try to make it pretty short. I'm having some issues with uploading it on Instagram, which is what takes the longest, to be honest. But, it's all done in under half an hour probably. And that's the idea.
So what do you initially record it on then, since you're having trouble? I'm just curious, uploading it.
Just some Wi-Fi issues, but really it's just on my cell phone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And do you, spread that link? You post it as an actual post on Instagram, right? And it's 60 seconds every Friday. Yeah. Do you ever take that link or that video and distribute it anywhere else, like LinkedIn or Facebook or anything?
Yeah, so I'll put it in my story, and then, it's in bits and pieces. And now it's a lot easier because it cuts it by automatically. You used to have to not be able to do that, right? You'd have to cut the video manually into 10 seconds. But I put it in my story, put a couple captions in there, and then people can kind of go through it. And if they want to see the full video in one piece, they can go see it in the post. But otherwise, I put it on my personal Facebook, which I try not to put too much work stuff on my personal Facebook. But the videos, I've had people that watch them that aren't on Instagram, so then I put them there as well.
Great. No, I have some more questions about that, but we'll get into that later. First, I definitely want to let you take center stage and talk more about, does your practice first mean to you? Secondly, why did you create it for everyone else? Because I've looked at, a couple of your posts, some of your stories from time to time, and you are doing a lot of what I think practitioners should do. And it seems like you're doing it by yourself right now. So I actually didn't get a chance to look when you started exactly. And I would love to just let you take center stage and tell us more about all the accountants out there. Even just there's entrepreneurs that are not CPAs, right, that still watch this show. And so go ahead, definitely take a moment to just tell us from the beginning of why you started and how, and what are you really focused on bringing to the market?
So for myself, I used to work in public accounting at a big firm, and I find, I liked what I did, but I wanted to work more in financial planning, just because I find it's a lot more concrete. It's not going back in time, seeing what you did last year. It's really more forward looking, and I found I wasn't working with people enough, whereas I just really thrive on talking to people, not just pointless talking, but having meetings with people. I found made my day go by a lot faster, and I actually enjoyed it a lot more than sitting in a cubicle personally. So that was a big reason for my career change. And so what I did is I went, and so I'm self-employed, but I'm working under London Life. I guess London Life's more a Canadian company, but so it's financial planning and life insurance and whatnot.
Right. I said, right. No, I'm familiar with the model.
Yeah. So I'm self-employed working under that, which has a little bit of rules there, but everything, I do my own marketing. I get my own clients. I can choose my own clients, which is a really big one for me. So whereas when you work under an office situation, you're given clients, and after some seniority, maybe you get to pick and choose a little bit, but not really, right? So I get to pick my own clients and basically pick who my niche is and go from there. So otherwise, that was really a big thing for me. And I've learned over time. So I've been in this just about a year now, actually. And I'm able to work with the people I want to work with, which at the beginning, I wasn't sure who that was going to be, right? But over time, I've decided I just really like working with small business owners and young professionals, people that actually want to make a financial plan, right? People that are interested in that, because you don't want to meet with people that don't really want to meet with you. That's just not fun, right? If someone doesn't want to meet with me, that's fine. They can go do their own thing, right? So I want to work with people that want to work with me and that see the value in the advice that I provide. So obviously, having some background in taxation and being a CPA, I can have a different perspective than someone would in just an insurance sales background, right?
Definitely. And real quick, being in that market, I see a lot of financial advisors that are not CPAs in that market, or didn't, whether they're CPA or not, do not have accounting experience, and may even try to touch on taxes in some cases. What are you seeing as your advantage? Are you seeing an advantage, a clear advantage for you that you have gone through the accounting process?
Absolutely. So first off, I understand the tax, and the tax is obviously a very complex world, right? So even someone that studied tax for many, many years, they still don't know everything, right? I like to think that I know a good chunk of it at this point. And even if you don't know everything, you know where to get it, and you have a network of other CPAs to discuss with, right? That's a big thing. So I think if someone claims they know everything about tax, they're probably lying. Having a network is huge for that. So, and just knowing where to find the information. So like I've met advisors in the past that, they'll say something about income tax, like, oh, this isn't taxed. And I'm like, yeah, it is. And did you tell your client that? So, so personally, I think it's just important that, where was I going with that? Basically, I just think it's important to understand the tax and to be confident with it, because it's a huge piece of everything. Like I don't know how familiar you are with life insurance. I sure wasn't before I started in this field, but whole life insurance is known to be a really tax advantaged insurance product for people that are wealthy and to pass on wealth and whatnot. So, so that alone, the tax is quite complex on it. But then you'll hear people say, oh, this is tax-free, or it's completely tax-free. And it's like, well, you can't really say that, right? It's a tax-deferred product. It's used with after-tax dollars. So there's a little bit more to it than just an easy sales pitch, right? So when you're working with business owners, things get a lot more complex. You can buy life insurance through your corporation and whatnot. And that's when you actually need to understand the taxation. And I find those clients that have more complex needs tend to come to someone like me because I can help them with a little more than just selling a life insurance policy, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hey, and I was going to ask a question, but you ended with something that I just want to highlight and point out because this is a marketing show and I'm giving out a lot of marketing stuff for free for the people that are watching. I don't necessarily care that I would lose money for people that go and implement because, hey, if they're self-doers, that's fine. Great. Glad I got them information because I know if I do that so many times, then I'm going to be working with the people that actually, need my services, right, through word of mouth. So here's a very good tip for everyone out there that you, Dominique, pulled off perfectly. You said, these professionals, these individuals, they come to me, right? And so that's how I do frame it. When, let's say, I even cold call someone, that's the best situation. Like, what do? You could say it, but I choose to not go the direction of I go to CPAs and I serve them. I say when I'm meeting someone new, right, just to establish that the marketing language, right? And make sure that they do know that accountants come to me. I say, hey, well, accountants come to me to have me do their marketing, right? So for you, I love the way you said that. Guys, viewers out there, if you want to start using that specific language, those are the things I think about. But Dominique, interesting thing that I think about when it comes to the financial advising market is that there's a lot more players in that market that are so much better at marketing than the accountants. Okay. Yeah. And it's the truth. And it's not that anyone has a bigger business, because the truth is you still can build a big business without marketing. Where marketing comes in is, hey, I want to build a big business on my own terms, or when I do need to fill up my client capacity, right? I'm filling it up with the clients I want. So I'm very curious, how are you, not that we're trying to put competition down, right? But how are you competing in that market? And you said they're coming to you. So what have you seen the best way to get clients for you? What's your go-to, what has been, there could be a lot of different ways you're getting clients, right? But maybe list some of your favorite.
Yeah, so I find just putting the information out there and just bringing up basic topics that people can all relate to, right? So I did a video about car financing last week, which I didn't before because I thought, well, that's a pretty basic topic, but like people don't understand these things, right? Like people don't understand why they should finance a car versus leasing it versus what should they buy cash? Is 0% interest all that great, So if you cover something like that, people find it of interest either to them or to someone else, right? And then it just makes them think, right? And then they're like, oh, and then they ask you a question, and that's when you start a conversation. So I found I've had a lot of people respond to cover student loans and stuff like that. Professionals just starting in their field, they're wondering, should I pay off my student loan or should I invest, right? No one talks about that. Like finance is so taboo. No one talks about it, right? And I find if you start that conversation on Instagram, people just tend to interact with it and they can actually relate to all that because no one talks about it. And I've looked in my city and no one has an actual active Instagram account at all.
That's awesome.
Part of that is compliance because there is some things you can't say. Like I can't go out there and promise 10% returns on mutual funds. I'm going to get in a lot of trouble. So, there's a lot of things that you can't say, you can't do, and that scares people off. And then they just choose not to do it. And also it takes time. Like it does take time, but everybody's got the time. Like I used to waste hours on social media for no business purpose. Now I'm using half of that for business purpose, right?
Right,
so
right.
New time. All of us are at least taking half an hour a day scrolling on the internet. If you're not, good for you, but that's definitely not my situation. So I thought, okay, I'm spending hours a day on social media, all kinds of socials. Either A, I stop doing that, or B, I use some of that time and make it business time, right? So that's kind of the approach I took.
No, yeah, that's great. You touched on a couple of great points there. And I'd like to sort of get into the topic of creating content and then doing it on a consistent basis, right?
Mhm.
That, of course, it's going to take time. For these CPA primetime episodes that I'm, creating and putting out on YouTube, the full episode, I'm not necessarily SEOing the YouTube statistics out and trying to get YouTube viewers, right? I don't look at my YouTube views that much. It's usually like a video will end up being 50 to 100 views after a while. For right now, I don't know. Some have more views than others. That's definitely something I'll pay attention to then market in the coming months. But right now, my biggest reason for doing that, and it ties into your 1 minute videos working faster as well, is I have videos right now in my YouTube that I can just grab a link of, and let's say it does have a topic in there that maybe I'm talking about with
Mhm.
a new prospect, and maybe they're asking a question, and I say, oh, well, that's actually covered right here in this video.
Yeah.
Check that time slot to that time slot, and then like I'll put another comment versus just explaining a long paragraph text, maybe about a usual frequently asked question. And you would really be surprised how much, if you make the video of, a lot of your Financial Friday videos, I'm sure you can use over and over again and take the link and grab them and send them to the actual conversation. Because with the more content that I create, I'm finding out that I can do that more, and to that's coming very beneficial in my LinkedIn messages environment and my even in an email, a back and forth email,
Mhm.
or even in an intro email. There's just so many benefits that you can exponentiate by grabbing the link and then purposefully, like intentionally sending it to people
Yeah.
instead of waiting, right? And that's on the small level. I do have big clients where, hey, we need these videos out, then they're on ads, right? But the solo practitioners, it is more of a time thing. The way you can exponentiate that time, if you do have time in your day, a lot of people are busy, and I don't know, no one works the same amount of hours, right? We all have our own other things that we like to do.
Any solo practitioner probably works at least 10, 12 hours a day, I would imagine.
Right.
I mean, some
And
of that isn't, hands-on work, but it's, networking,
yeah,
going to things. It's insane.
exactly. There's a lot to sort of handle by yourself. So part of those hours may be taking that Instagram link and then sending it to someone.
Mhm.
I don't know. And that's not necessarily viewing constantly your content, right? And so
Yeah.
that's one of the things that I found beneficial to me. And I'm sure it'll be beneficial to everyone out there when they start creating content, right? So what I'm saying here is, content does take time, but there's also an intentional factor that you can
Yeah.
go in there and do, just like doing a cold call. I definitely get inbound leads from my videos. They say, hey, we like this, right? And those clients
Mhm.
are very because of the way I make my content, they're more of my ideal clients, right? The clients that come to me. But let's say I see a bigger accounting company, then I'm going to go ahead and call them because they might go through the whole tax season not seeing my stuff, right? So that's what I would say to anyone out there sort of not getting the clients that they want. Maybe they can just, I mean, send if they can't, if they haven't done cold calls before, I would encourage trying cold calls with a few firms that you don't necessarily care. I mean, not firms. That's me. That's me. I'm targeting firms with a few prospects out there that you don't necessarily care if it wouldn't hurt your business, or it wouldn't hurt your
Right.
reputation if they absolutely hated you and hung up the phone and said, why are you calling me? This is absolutely inappropriate.
Just kind of taking your shot and hoping for the best.
Exactly. So I would encourage everyone out there to take a few practice shots, and then you'll be much more equipped to get the clients you actually want when you want. Mm-hmm. So leading into the next topic, Dominique, I mean, what are you seeing in the Canadian tax landscape right now, as well as the financial landscape, as compared to what's going on in the U.S. with taxes? You don't have to touch on U.S. if you don't want to, but I do have a lot of U.S. viewers, and I even have viewers out of the country, even for overseas. So go ahead. What are you seeing in Canada?
I mean, again, I can't really compare it to the U.S. Of course, we got healthcare and stuff.
Right.
And but we still have like insurance products like critical illness coverage and stuff like that still makes a difference. So there might not be any financial costs for us when it comes to your health, but there's financial costs in the way of time off work and whatnot, and pretty much time off work and more private care. So there's that too. But otherwise, I can't really compare it to the U.S. market because I don't know a whole lot about it, to be honest. But we've had a lot of changes in the tax world with small businesses, taxes going up, taxes going down, and changes with hiring family members and small businesses and whatnot. So that just kind of puts a lot of question marks in people's eyes. And then what I've been noticing too is a lot of people that have been doing their taxes a certain way for a long time, just based on whatever their bookkeeper or tax preparer has been doing. And, they've been doing that way for 10 years. So it's probably fine. For example, any tax write-off that you shouldn't really do. For example, an office in your home, or mileage from your car. I've been seeing a lot of people just writing off X percentage just because that's what they've been doing. And that scares me a little bit. So I just tell people, if you're going to be stubborn and basically not get a CPA to do your taxes as a small business owner, just at least get a CPA's opinion on the first year, get some professional advice, and then do it yourself if you really are inclined that way. But I've just been seeing a lot of people getting their taxes done by not professional accountants, perhaps, and not doing them properly. So that just scares me a bit. I'm just coming to the conversation with people. It's not even necessarily clients, right? People just talk about deductions and they'll mention something, and I'm like, oh, it's not really right.
Right.
Sometimes, people will Google tax deductions and some US website comes up. Oh. So then they just follow that. And for example, capital gains are so much different in the States than they are here. Huge. Okay. Right? We can't just sell a property and buy another one and have the capital gain get written off. I know that's not exactly how it works in the States, but we don't have anything remotely close to that. So people, they'll Google capital gains taxes, and then they'll look at the first link and then not realize it's a US website. So that's pretty scary too, right? People do their own research, but they won't look at the right websites, and then they get in trouble.
So an interesting insight that I just, I know I've spent a lot of my life since the 8th grade just learning how people respond to things. I basically spent a lot of my life learning communication and getting into the details of it. I think that they don't ask an actual CPA, even on Instagram, just a simple question for the specific reason that, they just look at those questions as, hey, no one is going to answer it for me for free. But I like what you have in your Instagram bio, and I'm going to pull it up here real quick. And you say, no fee financial planning for entrepreneurs and young professionals. Let's start a conversation. Awesome. I love that. I think that opens up your line more, and it does make you more approachable to your target. And so what I'm curious of is, do you see a lot of these entrepreneurs, that might ask you for a service, an accounting service that you don't provide? Because you did say that you were one of the only accounts in Thunder Bay And I'm not sure about the rest of Ontario, but, have you seen a lot of those people maybe request something that you didn't provide, or did you, are you
Yeah.
thinking of that?
Like I've seen a lot of people ask about HST related things, like when it comes to sales and whatnot. And because I find like startups, people really starting out in their business, they don't really have anybody to go to for that.
Hmm.
And yeah, we kind of have a lack of specialists in the area. So it's something I'm thinking of getting into. I just don't want to spread myself too thin into different service areas, but
Yeah.
there's a lot of that. And but I also meet a lot of business owners, like people just starting out. So of course they don't have extremely high cash flow, right? And then their thing is, oh, I'll come see you later, but right now I just, things are just kind of whatever they are. I'm just trying to pay off debt. And I'm like, right, but there won't be a time in a year from now where you're just like rolling in cash and you're like, what should I do with all this cash, right? You
Hmm.
should go see an advisor now. It's free. Like, and that's another thing a lot of
Right.
people don't realize. I've had people approach me and say, oh, I was thinking of coming to see you. Like, how much is it for your services? And I'm like, well, no, it's free, right? I get paid on
Yeah.
commissions.
Come make a
So
plan. Yeah.
yeah, so if I find something that you need, then I get paid that way. And if there's nothing that you need, then cool, right on, right?
Mhm.
And I hope you'll refer me to some friends and colleagues and whatnot. But yeah, there's no cost, right? And I'm not a
Mhm.
salesperson. Like people get
Mhm.
scared of walking into a meeting with a salesperson where they'll just get sold this
Yeah.
ridiculously high price policy, right? I'm not like
Yeah.
that. If there's a need for it and it makes sense for you financially and tax wise, we
Mhm.
should go that route. But that's not the case for everybody, right?
Exactly. And that's why I pointed out your Instagram bio, because the reason that they don't reach out is because they think they're going to have to pay. They don't even want to ask you one question because they're afraid if they ask you one question, that then you're going to go
I
into
send
a sales.
invoices when I get a DM. I just
Right.
send a big invoice.
Exactly. And so, no, I mean, that's why I invited you on the show, because it seems like you have a lot of great insight, right? I'm not concerned with the size of the businesses that my guests have. I have invited bigger businesses on the show that maybe they've even had 300 YouTube videos and like they have so many subscribers, like so many
Mm.
followers. Yet when I hit them up on LinkedIn, they say, "Oh, I'm not really doing interviews right now." And I'm like, what do you mean? And it's just like, and so I won't go over the whole dialogue, but I eventually get them to say, maybe in a couple of months. Am I going to hit them up? I don't know, because it's pretty clear to me that they passed on an opportunity just
Hmm.
for them to go ahead and have that media out there.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're not going to create your own podcast as well, or your own show, or your own financial 1 minute Fridays, then because you don't want to get in front of the camera, or you feel just completely uncomfortable doing that, then a great way is to join a podcast, because you won't necessarily have to come up with a topic. The guest
Yeah.
will just, as a guest, you will just answer questions. And once
Yeah.
you're in the actual conversation, it's very easy to, talk about what you do. And I say very easy. People are like, yeah, right. You're you're on a video. You do this a lot, Juan. Well, you could also do maybe a phone call, a recorded
Yeah.
phone call
I like
podcast.
video better anyways. I find you get a little
Mhm.
antsy after a while on the phone, but yeah, I find I've been saying yes to a lot of these opportunities and it just gives you practice too, right? So that when something really
Mhm.
big comes up, like a big public speaking presentation, then you're just kind of used to it at that point. And if you don't do anything until the big thing comes up, then you're just going to get stage fright and it just won't go
Mhm.
over very well, right? You won't be used to talking about your business. So
Mhm.
I've been doing a few like podcasts kind of like this, and then a few presentations too, right? Giving
Mhm.
information to business owners. Like we have a women's network in Thunder Bay that just does like free presentations for small business owners or people just starting out in whatever, whether it be a side gig or a full-time enterprise. And they're just free presentations, right? So you
Mhm.
get to, as a professional, you have to be a professional. It can't just be anybody off the street, but you get to
Right.
pick a topic and just kind of deliver your presentation. Some people attend online, some people
That's
attend in
awesome.
person. Yeah, and I mean, some people wouldn't bother doing that. They'd be like, well, you don't get paid for that. I don't have time for that. It's like, well, no,
Exactly. And they
you're
don't.
practicing your skills, you're
Mhm.
delivering free information, and if people want
Mhm.
more, they're going to come to you too. So,
Mhm. Yeah, so I told you about that, the big company, right? There was also another big company that did want to come on the show, and they were in the financial services industry, financial products, right? They were more of the lines of actually promoting themselves and their product. And even though, you know, they were marketing, I didn't want to let them on the show because I don't necessarily want to promote a product on this show to my audience. It's more for
so it's not what people want to hear, right?
It's definitely not, no. And I don't want that to impact my brand and be like, oh no, Juan does invite these people on this show, right? I don't want that to happen. And a point you did touch on was that I definitely am very curious about is the HST specialist. Is there some way that you would be able to outsource work for that? Like if you got a question, because for me right now, I'm outsourcing top notch video production or SEO or $800 to $8,000 funnels that maybe I'm not going to build the actual web page, but my team is, along with my review, right? So there's nothing wrong. Everyone is set up different. Some people say, I will absolutely not outsource anything. But me, I will outsource things only when I keep the process of, all right, we're able to completely review this process and we have utmost control of that process, right? And besides HST, would you, are you outsourcing anything? And, you don't have to outsource because I don't know your growth goals, but if you could answer those two questions, are you outsourcing anything and do you have any goals to grow?
So I'll be getting an admin assistant later in 2019. I'm not exactly sure when, but I was also considering outsourcing like tax preparation and HST kind of as a two-in-one thing. Because I do want to offer tax preparation as a service, but I find myself preparing the actual taxes is not my cup of tea, which is part of why I left public accounting in realities, because I don't like filling out forms. So, I wouldn't mind outsourcing that piece and then reviewing the tax returns, making sure obviously they're done properly and whatnot. But so that would kind of include like maybe some HST preparation or something. I'm not exactly sure, but then that's the thing, right? Like, what is your time worth and what do you want to spend your time on? And I don't want to take on something and then realize halfway through, like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore, right? If I'm going to commit to it, I'm going to do it all the way through. And you also don't want to offer a service 1 year and then the next year be like, oh, sorry, I don't offer this anymore. Then people are confused, right? Like, you don't want to offer HST preparation for a year and then have to tell all those clients next year, yeah, I don't do this anymore. Good luck. Find someone else.
Okay. No, that makes sense. And I think what are your growth goals? For me, I want to build a big media company. And I also want to, in the accounting space specifically, the reason I started was because I just knew that there's so many practitioners and firms out there that can achieve more revenue and reach their goals faster via marketing specifically. Okay. There's a
very unique field where like you have such a specific market, which is crazy because like 10-15 years ago, I feel like that kind of business wouldn't exist because you only have so many accounting firms in your 10-kilometer radius, right? So like with what you have right now, it's kind of cool because you can do that countrywide or even further out. And there's obviously a bunch of accounting firms in the entire country. So it's just kind of cool. It's a type of business that wouldn't exist 10 or 15 years ago. It just couldn't.
I think about that all the time. And I think about that when I get tired, maybe I got to wake up early for maybe a 6 a.m. meeting because there's a client in New York, right? And so they want to meet at 9 in the morning. But I think about my grandparents and what if my life was switched with my grandparents? I just wouldn't have this opportunity. So I'm definitely trying to take advantage of what's going on, not only in the world with everything being mobile, with me being able to serve the market, with there even being more entrepreneurs, just period, for all of us to go and help because we are B2B consultants. Even if you help individuals out there, I mean, there's just more people that you can reach. And I am, this next year, 2018 through 2019, it's not a regular time period. And so we're almost at a point where a lot of this stuff that we're seeing, like a lot of the stuff that I'm talking about right now, you've looked at my content, it's not going to work 3 to 5 years down the line. Like there's going to be some other types of advantages that we're looking at then. So I'm really trying to hit that hard right now, just because we're so lucky. We're just so lucky to have everything that's going on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, all of it. So that's what I'll say about that is I try to take it completely out of a business context and just think about if I was my grandpa, starting a construction company like he did, then I don't know, things would just be much harder, right? So
you have to physically be present. It's just so different. And just to answer your question, I guess I didn't answer like my growth objectives. I'm looking to eventually, like I'm pretty young. Like I'm only 25, right? So I'm just starting this out quite early on, and I'm looking to just get to a point where, first off, like going on a little tangent here, I meet with a lot of people and realize that what I thought 5 years ago about people's finances is way different than the reality. A lot of people are just strapped with cash problems. Like they just don't have positive cash flow ever. And they can barely put money aside. And it's not because they're financially unable, as it just made wrong choices, right? It got strapped in a lot of, big car financing loans and just high expensive habits basically. And they're just not very financially savvy and they just can't get forward, right, without reducing their lifestyle. So I'm just looking to prioritize my personal life and just look at my expenses and, okay, I'm not going to live incredibly lean, right? I'm not really into that. You hear a lot of people leaning out their lifestyle like crazy. And that's not me, but I'll definitely keep some things lean so I can enjoy other things, right? I'm going to go to a coffee shop and spend $4 on a cup of coffee. I'm not going to fret about that or slap my wrist for it, I'm going to enjoy that cup of coffee. I'm going to enjoy lunches, but I'm going to try and make them beneficial most of the time, right? Will I think a client lunch for $30 is a great investment? Absolutely. Should I go for lunch for $30 every single day for no other reason? No, right? It's different. So there's some things I view a lot differently than a traditional financial advisor. Someone might tell you shouldn't buy alcohol, it's expensive. You shouldn't buy food takeout, you should cook it all yourself. Well, yeah, you should cook most of your food yourself. But for some people, they don't even need to do that, right? Like you'll meet someone who's making 6 figures, is pretty basic lifestyle, works a lot and gets high income from it. So maybe they should, outsource their food preparing. It's kind of like outsourcing work, right? Like, should you spend your whole day Sunday preparing meals just so you can be healthy? If you make, over $100 an hour, maybe you should just outsource that. So just looking at things differently. And it's not all about reducing your expenses to a crazy low amount. So just kind of going back to my topic here, like I'm just looking to prioritize my spending on a personal level so I can reinvest some of that into my business and also just, let my business grow and have some personal savings put aside and whatnot, just so I don't have to worry about money anymore. Because that's what's really nice about working for yourself is you choose how much money you make. And and a lot of the money you spend, not a lot, but some of the money you spend ends up being for business purposes. So you don't really feel like you need to spend as much on a personal basis. Like I find I shop less than I used to. I just spend less going out for personal reasons. I just kind of funnel that back into my business because that's what I want to do. So I'm just looking to get to a point eventually where I have really good business contacts, like, an accountant I really like, a lawyer I really like, and all kinds of people that are similar to me so we can build a really good referral system and just kind of get to know each other, right? So I have a little bit of that done already. I've got a few great contacts I've made over time, but there's definitely some places that I don't have filled, right? Like I want a client to ask me, hey, do you do this? And instead of saying, yeah, no, I don't.
Right.
I personally don't specialize in that, but my buddy over here is great at it. And refer somebody without referring them to someone that's mediocre, right? Like I take that stuff really seriously. I'm not going to refer someone to a guy that sells real estate just because I know a guy that sells real estate, right?
Because,
he needs to be a great guy.
Exactly. No, I love that answer. And I think you'll find a lot, I think everyone will find a lot of success doing things by themselves in this environment, which is why more are. But if you can find that dream team around you, right? What is a dream team? Well, it's the people that you would actually work with, right? I mean, even if you're not signing a partnership or even an affiliate agreement to refer each other business, yeah, that's something that has always been around. The lawyer and the accountant and the insurance talk too between the two. I think they kind of, the lawyer and the accountant kind of tag team cities at a time, or in the old days, it was the small accounting societies that had a lot of connections with the lawyers, right? Now, as a 25-year-old, you can really meet a lot of lawyers in your area without having to go to the conference. You could go to the conference too, but yeah, just so many of the same things as in the past, except there's new tools to take advantage of them. So, Dominique, we're running out of time here. I want to know, we have a lot of entrepreneurial accountants, CPAs out there, even financial advisors, and they may or may not have a big business, right? They may or may not have even started their business. One thing I do like about you is that you're marketing right. Is she marketing right? Yes or no? I say yes. So, can you give them one tip, or maybe talk about the biggest challenge that you've had to overcome, and maybe you're still working on that as you're creating content and marketing the way you are. One piece of advice for, the accountants out there that should start creating content that are not.
Yeah, so this piece of advice is going to sound kind of corny, and maybe you've heard it before, but I thought it was corny before, and now I totally get it. People say, like, find something you love so you don't have to work a day in your life. I've heard that before, and I was like, yeah, whatever. But it's so very true, right? Like, I meet a lot of people that, they're leaving public accounting for a job. And then you ask them, like, oh, you found a new job? Congratulations. And they're like, yeah, I'm done work at 4, and it's got good benefits. And I'm like, cool. But like, they don't even care about the job itself. It's more the fact that it ends at 4. That's just kind of gross. Like, come on, find something you actually love. And especially if you're starting a business, because you're going to put a lot of hours into it. I work at least 50, 60 hours a week, which I used to do in public accounting and think it was awful. And now I do it and I don't really care. I just got to find a way to make the time. I do it laundry while I'm sleeping, that kind of thing. You find little tricks to make it work. But find something that you actually love. And if you don't love it, then do something else, before you get too invested into your business. If you don't love it, make another one, something you actually love. That's my piece of advice. And then I guess the struggle is just finding a balance between giving content that you think is important versus content that people want to actually hear, right? Like myself, for example, I think life insurance is super important and no one even knows what it is. Like, you ask a typical young person, they have no idea what it is, how much it costs, why they need it. And so I want to talk about that, but sometimes people just don't want to hear about it, right? So they want to hear about the growth of their investments, even though I find that's a little more straightforward and everybody talks about that. So, finding a balance between the content you want to give and the content that people want to hear. And you can do a little bit of both, right? Like, people aren't going to all unfollow you because you posted one video they didn't care about. But if you keep posting,
test, yeah.
Yeah. If you keep posting them, they might just kind of, okay, yeah, no. So that's my advice, I guess.
No, great point. And I'll make it very short because you touched on a lot there that I could expand on. But all I will say to the accountants out there is that for me, what I noticed working tough busy seasons at PwC, and I do mean tough, two busy seasons in a row, a 9:30 audit, and you say, oh, well, they ended the year at 9:30, it must not be a tough audit. It was one of the most complex audits in PwC history that I was on. I got like no sleep one day, 1 hour of sleep one day. My team wasn't getting sleep either. There were a lot of hours put in. Like we lost money on the audit. Like PwC didn't care. And of course, I won't say any more about that. But what I will say is that, you know, if you've done busy season before, the truth is that, and this goes with experience. I don't know if anyone out there is ready or not, but what's beautiful about what Dominique just touched on is that you can go from working a busy season with their clients to creating your own busy season with your clients. If I wanted to stop at 4 p.m., I could, but since I want it to be bigger than that, I'm going till 11 p.m., right? So, no, thank you for your time, Dominic. I thought that was, Dominique, I thought that was amazing interview. And thanks for sharing some Canadian HST facts with the audience. Is there one last thing you would like to say?
I guess no. Well, I guess maybe where to find me. I don't know.
where can they find you?
So I just have a simple T-Bay Financial, so a short for Thunder Bay, T-Bay Financial on Instagram and on Facebook, and maybe YouTube shortly. We'll see.
Awesome. Hopefully. And go ahead and follow her, guys. I'll have her link in the description below. Dominique, thank you. And that is it for this episode of CPA Primetime.
Thank you.